More new patients, a classic challenge of every dentist at every stage. And we're going to learn from the awesome Dr. D'Angelo Webster how you can bring more new patients to your practice for less than $500 a month. Paul, Dr. Nacho Goodman, founder of Dental Nachos and Dentist Job Connect, talking with my friend, someone I admire a lot, Dr. D'Angelo Webster. He puts the business hat on every day in his practice, along with his clinical hat. D'Angelo, catch the audience up a little bit about your story. Where do you practice? What are you doing in your day-to-day before we jump into the course?
Sure. So I'm a solo dentist practitioner, like many of the people listening here and many of the dental students listening. One day they'll be solo practitioners. I have a practice in a small town. It's by no means a rural area. So we've got a Starbucks, Planet Fitness, all the major stuff. And I opened my practice right out of dental school. Okay. And I did a startup. And like I said, it wasn't a rural area. I think within less than a mile, there were 10 other dentists. There's a Heartland. So it's definitely an area that had a fair share of competition. So one of the first questions I think is, how do I see enough patients to be busy and be able to make a nice living? Yeah. And a lot of the mentality of you buy an existing practice is you get a lot of goodwill. There's a lot of word of mouth. Well, as a new practice owner, there's no word of mouth because no one's ever heard of you yet. So every new patient is a new contact. You're basically having to bring in all your new patients from scratch. Right. So I started to do research. I'm working on my business plan. And, there's these marketing companies out there. And they're talking about Google SEO and different types of social media marketing and mailers, direct mailers. And I'm getting quotes, and the quotes for these marketing plans are like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And like, I'm a dental student, and then I'm going to be a new grad. I'm not going to have $40,000 to spend on this. But I think to myself, well, maybe I could stretch. Maybe I could get more money in my startup loan. So I talked to some older dentists and some references like, hey, you used one of these marketing companies before. How did it go? And the feedback was never really strong. It'd be like, yeah, I used them. I got a couple patients, but I don't use them anymore. So with that type of feedback, I thought to myself, I've got to figure out something better. Yeah. So I got into social media marketing. And one of the first questions is like, why Facebook specifically? Why not Instagram? Today, why not TikTok? Yeah. So I thought about who was my ideal target new patient that comes to the office. And
I want to interject because I think that's important to value shares. How did you determine or predict who is the ideal patient for your practice? Not my practice, not someone in San Diego, not someone in Miami, Florida. You're in Michigan, right? Your practice. You're a new practice owner. I admire you. I still think you're a little nacho nuts to do all this or DIY out of dental school, but I know you've done it, and you have a great story to share. But you're a young dentist, and you're thinking, how do you even know who your ideal patient is?
Yeah. So being a young dentist, I knew my ideal patient was going to be people with really basic needs, because as a new dentist, my skill set was pretty basic. I didn't do a GPR. I didn't take a bunch of CE. So I needed just like regular families, blue collar, regular working people with simple everyday needs, not big complex, simple everyday needs. So simple everyday needs, in my mind, okay, I need the simple everyday family that's going to be my target ideal patient. So the mom, with the husband, a couple kids, grandma and grandpa. Okay. So that goes back to why Facebook. So I looked at the average age of users on different platforms. And I think at the time, the average age of a Facebook user was like 29. TikTok's going to be lower than that. But the average age of a Facebook user is 44 years old. And right now, I think it's 46. So it's trended up a little bit. And to me, that's perfect. It's exactly who I want, because we've got someone who's 44. That means they're going to have an established family, probably married, probably a couple kids, probably mom, dad, uncle. There's a family there. And that's exactly who I wanted to target. And that's exactly who was living on Facebook. In the future, it might be a different platform. But right now, and a couple years ago, and probably going forward still, it's going to be Facebook that is that older demographic, which is can be the mom that's making the appointments.
For our audience, Dan, I just want to just recap. I think it's really great that you realized too often dentists will advertise for veneers and not really be able to do veneers or want to do veneers. They just think that's what I'm supposed to do. So marketing for your morale and your money is important. And you said, hey, I have a fundamental skill set. I got this basketball, not basic, fundamentals, right? Dribbling, passing, shooting. So you have a fundamental skill set of doing likely fillings, crowns, extractions that aren't crazy surgical extractions. So finding those patients is key. So really, I compliment you on that. And I just wanted to highlight that for our audience listening, that your ideal patient is not for your ego. Your ideal patient is not to brag to your friends. Your ideal patient so that when you walk into your office, you can feel confident in what you're doing and also delivering care so you can produce money in your practice.
Absolutely. And understanding that is super important because when I was giving this lecture live, I get like questions in real time, and I have dentists from all different sort of practice backgrounds, like high-end ones in California to like rural ones and everything in between. And the system for marketing on Facebook works in all of those settings, but it starts with understanding who your core target audience of patients is, and you tweak and define things from there. So if you're high-end and you do just want to do veneer cases because that's what you're good at and that's what you like, you structure and target things in a way that you're going to draw.
So I like that as we dig in this course, your Facebook marketing course, which we're going to be an affiliate for, Dental Nachos, proud to be that, and share with you ways that you can get D'Angelo's course. I'm going to share with you ways for you to get that and learn. I compliment you that it's a course that can be applied to all different regions, but knowing your ideal patient is important. To go back to your story, I'm assuming, D'Angelo, you say, okay, I can't spend $40,000 on a marketing firm. I'm going to figure this out on my own, but then your ad budget couldn't be $10,000 a month either. So catch us up to that part of the story.
Sure. So my ad budget definitely could not be in the thousands. I just couldn't. Like I said, I opened my practice straight out of dental school. So at first it was like $300 a month. That's what I had. And when I was spending about $300 a month, I was getting 40 to 60 new patients a month. And keep in mind, there's 10 other dentists within a mile of me and a Heartland dentist. Okay. And then I eventually ramped it up to about $500 a month. And at that point, I was getting around 100 new patients a month. That's what I'll usually say is around 100. Some months I have 120. Some months I have 74. But my average, I think my actual average was 89.
That's amazing. So you used the system you trained yourself on in Facebook marketing, coupled with a really reasonable budget, and it worked. But I'm sure as you were doing it, you didn't do the course the first time. You wanted to make sure it worked for you, right?
Oh yeah.
But then what inspired you? And I mean, this is what I love about online. I love that you and I are talking to each other from Philadelphia, Michigan, online. We're learning online. This is where I think online is such a valuable learning tool in any time you are. So then you thought, I'm going to put this together and teach it to people. Tell us about that.
Sure. So that's an interesting journey. So my patient coordinator and I were actually sitting at a live CE a little bit before COVID happened. So there was still live CE at that time. And the instructor of the class was asked, like, how many new patients does your office get each month? It was like a practice management. People were putting their hand up saying 15, 25, 17, 8, 40. And then we know that last month we had 127 for one doctor in a 4-hour practice, only spending, $500 marketing. And I was like, don't even tell them. They're not going to think it's true. So we didn't even say our number to the group. And then I'd have other dentists approach me because in practice biopsy, I share my numbers. I share my profit and loss statements. I share everything. And dentists would start to approach me and say, hey, how are you getting so many new patients? Say Facebook. And they'd say, well, I tried that. It didn't work for me. Social media, Facebook marketing doesn't work for me. I'm like, well, show me your ads. And then they would show me what they were running as ads. And it immediately made sense why it wasn't working. And I started to identify like these red flags that your Facebook marketing ads are probably not good ones. If you're doing the ad for the free exam, the $19.99 cleaning, hey, your insurance is ending at the end of the year with a picture of a calendar and a toothbrush, or like a new patient promo, or anything with stock photos, you're probably just throwing away your money on Facebook ads and it's not going to work. And I realized that my approach was different. When COVID lockdown happened, I had a lot of free time. So around then I was like, hey, I've got the time. Why don't I start teaching these as live seminars on Zoom? And I ended up doing that, and it had a lot of demand. It was really popular. I ended up teaching it to a couple hundred dentists, and it was really fulfilling. But eventually, I got tired of giving the same lecture.
Yeah.
It was, again, it's like, when's the next one? When's the next one? And I wanted to do other things. So I ended up recording the last live class that I taught. I had it edited and packaged up nicely. I wrote a study manual with it, which is right here. So anyone in the course will get this companion study manual, get a digital version, or you could print it out.
So let me do this for a second, Dan, as I was joking. I was walking Tilly from Philly, listening to this last week. I'm so impressed by it. Just so we can show dentists, they love details. Dentists love details, right? So when they purchase this Facebook marketing course from you, it comes with the physical. Is that a physical or online manual that they get?
It's an online manual.
Online manual. So they can they get an online manual and they get access to this course. Let me just play a little snippet here. We could take a break from our talking just to share with everybody what this looks like.
So when Facebook is deciding to show ads, they want to show ads that are relevant to people. One of the clearest indicators of relevance is if it is local. So if right in the title, Facebook knows that you're talking to people who live in a certain area, it will be more likely to show your ad to people who are in that area.
So you said this while we're talking. What's your D'Angelo Be Famous Where?
Sure. All right. So I'll start with a little example of when this really started to hit home for me. So obviously I do Facebook marketing. And Paul, you're a dentist, you're a charismatic guy. You've probably been out in the community and you bump into a patient of yours and they say, "Hey, Dr. Paul." And you say, "Hey, you're my patient." We've all had that, right? Yeah. So I started to get to the point where I was at the post office, at the store, at a restaurant, at a drive-through, and they'd say, "Hey, aren't you the dentist?" But they were not patients of record. They'd never been in my office.
Wow.
So they recognized me as the dentist. And it's because they recognized me from social media. So that kind of helped me connect the dots that like a hallmark of success with social media marketing is that you become famous. Not worldwide famous, not famous in the United States, not even famous in the city. Famous within 5 miles of your dental practice.
Which is where people, I want to interject as someone who's a little older than you, D'Angelo, is that, and I sell practices and I bought multiple practices and I've been a dentist and I help. Patients in general are not traveling huge distances to see the dentist, no matter how much they like you. When someone says, "I'm going to buy a practice," are the patients going to stay? I go, "Let me see the zip code search." People over 10 miles away, it's hard to get them to keep coming. And that's usually the time that they may change. So I like your 5-mile radius. It's such an important learning tool for everyone listening that no matter how great you are, people are not going to spend an hour driving each way to the dentist most of the time.
Yeah, because there's other great dentists.
Yeah. I also want to point out, this was like so simple to use. So you listen to the class. It has the companion manual. It looks like you can even get CE credits. Is that accurate?
Yep. So it's accredited. You'll get 2 CE credits when you take the quiz. It's a AGD PACE certified class.
Awesome. And at the time of this recording, and I know we're going to have a great nacho discount for our followers, but just what is the current retail price of this course?
Current retail price is $285 for the class and the companion manual and the 2 CE credits.
And I mean, I embrace and admire what you're doing because you're making education affordable for anyone, and investing $285 in getting new patients is such a great value. Just investing, I learned just listening, to half of the course, just things I hadn't thought about. And I think that more and more dentists, especially younger ones, have to start paying attention to these things earlier than they think. The dental world is a lot different. You have older dentists saying, "I don't know when the shingle was being hung up all the time. Were they selling shingles that said dentist?" But that story is they could hang up a shingle and be successful. But now it's so key to embrace creative ways like this. So for $285 to be able to learn techniques that you can train yourself on, you can train your team on. I mean, you go into granular detail, D'Angelo, this of basically boosted posts versus, sponsored posts. Give the audience a little bit more before we wrap up. They're on board with, okay, this makes sense to get. It's digestible, 2 hours, not like a 20-hour thing. I can watch something online, but if they need a little more of the why, give them a little more of the why.
So, I mean, at the core of it, when we're marketing, billboards, TV, radio, mail, that's all kind of out the window. That's not where people are giving their attention. People are putting their attention on social media, okay? And this is a do-it-yourself course. I'm like, well, I could do it myself or I could hire my marketing company. True. But as a fundamental piece of why you need to understand this topic, if you want to be able to grow your practice this way, is success with social media marketing for dental practice is all about authenticity and being authentic.
Yeah.
And communicating an authentic message of your practice. And if you're hiring someone else to do it, like an outside company, by definition, you're not being authentic.
What I'll add to this is you really put a lot of effort into your physical self, training, things like that. And there's times where you've had high level trainers. There's times where you haven't, times where you've joined fancy gyms, you haven't. What I'll say as kind of in a broad picture way is knowing about what other people do for you, even if you wind up outsourcing it later, is so valuable, right? So you may be at a point in your career where you want to DIY. You may be hiring a marketing firm and just want to make sure they're getting your message across in the right way. So I think, this is, I do think it was kind of ridiculous. We had to learn how to make bite rims. I think you could just send that to the lab, right? But I actually will change my mind here on this and say, it makes a lot of sense to know. And I believe at some point in your career, D'Angelo, you will connect with a marketing company and you'll be a really good client for them because they're going to be excited to interact with someone who knows so much about what they're doing so that you can accelerate the success. So I think whether you're a startup practice owner, medium age practice owner, whether you're currently working with a marketing firm and just want to see what's happening out there. Many dentists, D'Angelo, since you haven't done it as much, as they hire a marketing firm and they say, go be authentic for me. And the marketing firm says, make me a video. They never do it. The marketing firm says, send me a picture of you and a patient, like that patient you have. Tell us real quick. I know we got to Joe soon, D'Angelo. That magical patient picture that was in the background there that got you so much attention. It wasn't a before and after. It wasn't a picture of, perio disease. It was just you and your patient. I know it's the firefighter in the background, but why is that picture so magical?
Okay, so that is one of the earlier ads that I ran, and I'm still running that same ad today, years later, and it's still my most successful ad. The reason why is that ad's got nothing to do with dentistry. And you'll find that typical person out there, they might love you, Paul, but the typical person on the street, they don't care about dentistry. They're not super interested in it. They don't care about your tooth joke. That's not why they're on social media. They're on social media, particularly Facebook, to see what's going on in their community, see what's going on with their friends, to see what's going on with their family. Okay. So the ad that you're referring to is a picture of me and a patient of mine just going like this, smiling, looking like friends. Okay. And that ad has probably brought me thousands of patients. And it's me and a patient who is both a fireman and a policeman in town, and he's wearing a hoodie. So this is the quintessential everyday Joe. He's the every guy. Any guy in the community, he could be anyone's husband, he could be anyone's dad. So when people saw that, they recognize like this guy is like us or someone in my family. So it establishes that connection. The brand of my practice is this is the practice where everyone's friendly and everyone likes to go. So that photo communicated really well. We also had a nice story with it. So the story is very important. So the text with that said something like, hey, Belleville, that's where we're at. This is my friend, David. David is a local hero around here. He's a fireman and a policeman, but he once told me that he would rather fight fires and bad guys than go to the dentist. That all changed when he came to our practice, and now we count David as one of our happy patients. So that ad, it does a ton of things, because how many people have expressed fear of the dentist or they have a nervous family member, and then they see this guy who looks just like them or their husband or their brother or their dad, and they say, hey, that guy didn't like going to the dentist either, but he goes there and it looks like it went pretty well. So even when they see that ad, if they don't call you right now to make an appointment, the next time their tooth hurts or the next time that they realize it's time to get their teeth cleaned, who will they think about? The person in that ad that made that connection with them, or the random dentist who sent them a 1999 new patient exam.
And I love so many things, and we're going to wrap, but you're making dentistry more friendly for a community. I love that people say, hey, you're the dentist guy. You're breaking down barriers to how people think about the dentist. In the process, you're building your practice. You're making people healthier. You're bringing in new patients to grow. So I'm thrilled to be part of this through Dental Nachos. If you would like to get a deal on D'Angelo's amazing course, just reach out to us at dentalnachos.com. We'll be glad to share that with you. Before we wrap up, D'Angelo, did I miss anything? Is there anything else you'd like to share with the Nacho audience?
I think that we're pretty good on things. Yeah, we touched all my key points, Paul.
Awesome. Well, I admire what you're doing. You're inspiring the future dentist to know they can do more, be successful. You're out there online, putting yourself out there, which isn't easy all the time, but sharing your success, sharing your stress, sharing your challenges, and we need more of that. So thanks so much, Dan.
One more thing I will say this year, for anyone who does end up taking the class or taking the course, I am available for questions.
That's awesome.
For email at practicebiopsy@gmail.com, or if you're my Facebook friend, you can send me a Facebook message. You can send me like a screenshot of a prospective ad that you're going to run, and I can help you through that. I do that.
That's super generous. And I love that because people always need a little TLC after these courses. I know I've been in those and given those. So thanks so much, D'Angelo. Have a great rest of the day.